film begins on the planet Yaucha Prime, where all other animals are prey to the Yaucha, but they are not victim to anyone. A creature named Quay is looking for his brother Dek on a ship that travels the planet. When Quay searches for him, he finds that Dek is concealed by a mystical cloak. Dek attacks out of the blue as Quay searches for him, and the brothers get into a heated altercation. In an attempt to demonstrate his increased strength, Dek launches a full-scale assault on Quay. However, Quay defends himself with ease and defeats Dek by forcing him into a trench. Dek thinks he's ready to become a Yaucha when he reappears. However, Quay tells him he still has a lot to learn and walks away. Dek discovers a toy that Quay had saved for him while exploring the ship. Quay informs him that it is a gift, his own spaceship, and that in order to join a clan, he must either kill a prey and bring it home or never go back.
Quay finds planet Genna, also referred as the Death Planet, but the home of the unkillable Kalisk, as Dex is looking for his victim. Dek claims he wants to prove himself and will murder Kalisk because their father believes he is weak. Dek is determined to complete his assignment despite Quay's warning that failure will result in death. Their father shows there in a spaceship before they can depart for planet Genna. He calls Dek their clan's vulnerability, asks Quay why he hasn't been killed yet, and gives Quay the command to do so. Then, using one of his devices, their father traps Dek. Quay destroys the device and sends Dek into the spaceship, sealing him within just as he is ready to kill him. After that, Quay battles his father for betraying him. Their father overwhelms Quay with his magical talents, which enable him to become invisible. Dek observes from within the ship as his father subdues and murders Quay.
Quay uses remote control to launch the spaceship for planet Genna just as he passes away. Dek hears his brother's last words, "Bring it home," as he helplessly watches his brother die in front of him. The spacecraft sets out to reach its target. He is awakened from his slumber as stones in the spacecraft's orbit strike the hull as it gets closer to the planet Genna. The ship is abruptly assaulted by a creature as it descends and reaches the planet's atmosphere, sending it crashing into a dense forest. Furious about Quay's passing and his father's cruelty, Dek musters his bravery, surveys his surroundings, and swears to bring Quay home victorious. He starts examining the weaponry he has for the task at hand. However, the neighboring tree's roots begin to move as he does, alerting him. The tree roots strike him as he turns to look into the sound. After his sword falls, he is able to pick it up and cut through the assaulting roots before they can reach him. The enormous, perilous planet Genna is in front of him. Afterwards, Dek uses big leaves to cover his wounds and carries on with his objective. He comes upon dead animal skeletons while strolling. This planet's vegetation is also hazardous. He eventually finds Thia, a girl who is stranded in dense bushes. Abruptly, a creature tosses a stone, triggering an attack by surrounding plants. When Thia offers to assist him, Dek responds, "Rucha hunts alone," and charges through the attacking plants. He eventually gets struck by one of the plants and becomes queasy. Dek tosses something in Thia's direction as she begs for assistance. The creature is poised to consume him as he collapses, but Thia intervenes and kills it before Dek passes out. Dek finds Thia when he wakes up and inquires as to what has happened to her legs. According to Thia, Weyland-Yutani developed and used her for research. On this planet, humans could not survive. She claims that Kisk killed all of the previous Yaucha. If Dek agrees to accompany her, she says she spotted Kalisk and can lead him to its den. Dek's navigation system is destroyed in the meanwhile. Thia informs him that since she is more familiar with the planet than he is, she can help him survive on Genna. Dek accepts and brings her along. Thia starts talking and asking him different questions while they are traveling, but Dek ignores her. Thia states that she has thoroughly researched and comprehends predator organisms as they pass a small trickle of water.
Dek ties Thia to himself in order to prevent their separation. They choose to take a nap while a storm draws near. When Dek asks how long she has been on Genna, Thia responds that her crew established a base there 2 years ago. She believed that since they collaborate, her buddy Tessa will come back. They were separated when a Kalisk attacked them one day when they were exploring Genna. According to Thia, she continues to think Tessa is still alive. In the meantime, Tessa had managed to live and had made it back to her headquarters, albeit with injuries and an unfinished task. She received a warning about the Yaourcha and was reassigned to obtain the XX052 specimen and retrieve bioens. She finds out that Thia is with one when she awakens. Dek becomes hungry at the same moment and gets ready to hunt a monster, but razorgrass wounds him. A little creature appears out of nowhere, approaches them, and then flees behind other creatures. Dek jumps between trees to pursue them, but he stumbles and almost lands on more razorgrass. Later, a struggle breaks out between them as Dek unexpectedly attacks the small monster. When Thia alerts Dek to the approach of a wild monster, Dek snatches up his weapon and hurls it, cutting the thing in half.
Stronger than it looks.
Dek eventually defeats the four-legged creature by following it through the trees, jumping down, and attacking it. Tessa and her group discover traces of Yaourcha blood while looking for Thia. With their sophisticated weapons, Tessa and her group eliminated every root. That evening, Thia, Dek, and the little thing sat beside a fire. Dek stated he liked the part where he cut the creature's head off, while Thia suggested their three could work well together. Dek handed the little creature some food as a token of appreciation for saving his life. Dek clarified that he was not a member of a clan. He revealed to Thia that he had a sibling who was killed by his father due to his weakness. Dex claimed that Kalisk was the reason he was here on Earth. Thia responded that she was looking for Tessa when he inquired why she was here. Tessa later saw Dek's deserted ship and went inside. Glancing around, she saw his tools and weapons. Dek was prepared to depart the following day, but Thia insisted that they couldn't abandon the little animal, which she had given the name Bud. In response, Dek said that a Ya hunts by himself and left Bud behind, taking Thia with him. Dek discovered one of Kalisk's fangs as they got closer to a waterfall. Thia questioned why his father had murdered his sibling. Dek explained to her that he wanted to demonstrate his might because his brother had died defending him because he was seen as the clan's weakness. After that, Thia told him a tale about wolves on Earth and how the alpha guards the pack instead of hunting or killing the most. Dek, however, retorted that he would be the alpha who kills the most. They kept moving onward into Genna's immense wilderness. When they finally arrived at Kalisk's den, they discovered hundreds of corpses. Thia said that Kalisk had sabotaged their purpose and discovered her artificial legs close by. She started the process of reattaching them, and she would soon be able to walk once more. Thia expressed gratitude to Dek for his assistance. Dek declared that he would honor Kwai, become a Yaourcha, and bring Kalisk home today. Thia informed him that he had to go since she had contacted Tessa and they were en route. She disclosed that the goal of her organization was to apprehend Kalisk. When Dek realized they intended to steal his prey, he became enraged. Before departing, he vowed that no one could stop him and wanted to know Kalisk's location. Dek later discovered gasoline and ignited the base. Fire heard the horrifying noises of Kalisk's arrival from inside. Dek and Kalisk engaged in a violent struggle. Tessa showed up at that precise moment and tossed something that froze Dek and Kalisk, ensnaring them. Tessa confined Dek within her facility. Tessa realized she wasn't Thia and that she had influence over the actual Thia. Tessa searched Dek's mind for the answer, but she was unable to find it. Dek became enraged when she told him he would now work for them. Thia was delighted to see her sister after Tessa brought her back to life. Tessa stated that their mother would be happy that they had both Dek and Kalisk. Enraged, Dek thought Thia had deceived him. While Thia complained that the Yawa were unfit for their tests, Tessa gave Dek an injection. However, Tessa persisted in modifying Dek's brain while collecting samples for study. Thia shut down the machine and claimed that this wasn't their goal, in an attempt to stop Tessa. Thia begged that they could still be sisters, but Tessa retorted that her mother had just given them feelings so they could investigate and take advantage of creatures on other planets. Thia maintained that Dek was unique, but Tessa countered that she had only come for Kalisk since saving Thia had cost her much the previous time. She gave her troops the order to box Thia and vowed not to repeat the error of the Yautja's brother. Thia asked one of the men who worked nearby to describe Dek's gadget. Thia was told by the man to open it and take a look inside. Thia was able to flee when the gadget burst as he did. As Dek plummeted into the sea below, she cried out for him to run. Thia and Tessa went back to their base in the meantime. Dek arrived at his spacecraft, used his devices to heal his wounds, and became enraged at his weakness and betrayal. Dek was inspired to gather all the natural resources he could find and forge them into new weapons when the spacecraft abruptly began to power up and he saw his brother's armor, which represented the wolf. He found traces of Kalisk's blood and blossoms as he strolled. Thia was imprisoned in a containment box at the base. Dek remotely turned on her cybernetic legs. Then, as the troops were distracted by Thia's legs, Dek entered the base. Bud helped him kill numerous soldiers as he killed them one by one. As Tessa was getting ready to transport Kalisk for testing, she falsely reported that Dek had died and claimed that the Yaw was a faulty specimen. Dek carried on his silent rampage, brutally and precisely murdering every soldier in his way. Although Thia's disconnected legs were able to save her, they unintentionally alerted the adjacent guards by appearing to deactivate while Dek killed the troops. At this point, Tessa was prepared to start her Kalisk experiment. Thia was moved that Dek had returned to save her. Bud also showed up, explaining that the captured Kalisk was his mother and that he was Kalisk's offspring. Thia raised the alert and asked Dek to freak Kalisk. Soldiers hurried to locate Dek, who was secretly preparing his attack, with just 20 minutes before launch. Then, using the natural weapons he had created, he launched a surprise attack and massacred soldiers. Dek was overpowered by Tessa's powerful attacks after she materialized in a huge machine. Thia attempted to use Tessa's biometric information to enter the control system, but one of Tessa's men stopped her.
When Thia had the opportunity, she killed him while posing as Tessa. Dek planned and hid. He unexpectedly ambushed Tessa from above while she was looking for him, clutching to her machine. Kalisk broke free and attacked Tessa at the same moment. Tessa hurled a freeze bomb at Kalisk as Dek damaged the cables, but Dek protected her, and Kalisk killed Tessa by destroying the machine before going back to Bud. As though to say thank you for saving her child, Dek walked up to Kalisk and gave her a kind touch. However, Tessa, who was barely alive, abruptly turned on one final freeze device, destroying Kalisk. Everyone was thrown aside by the blast. Bud was heartbroken to see his mother pass away. While Bud exacted revenge on his mother by tearing off Tessa's head, Dek struck from behind as Tessa was aiming her laser at Thia in an attempt to kill her. After giving Bud a hug, Dek and Bud went back to Yawa Prime.
When Dek returned, he gave his father the severed head of Kalisk and informed him that he had come for his cloak. His father gave the order for his soldiers to kill him, but Dek killed them all with one blow. The father and son engaged in a final conflict. Dek's father used the invisibility of his cloak to subdue him, but Dek had an idea. Then Dek delivered the last blow, murdering his dad. He told Dek that he had now earned the right to head the clan while his father lay dying. Dek, however, retorted, "I have my own clan," and Bud ate his dad. As Dek, now a true Yautja, regained his cloak, Thia, Bud, and Dek stood together. Abruptly, a ship came down from the sky. It belonged to his mom, and the story ends here. To ensure you never miss any updates on new videos, kindly click the bell icon and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.